In this lesson, we will study the last knowledge point of Chapter 1, Introduction, Geological Process. Geological processes refer to natural actions that cause changes in surface morphology, internal material composition, and structural features of the Earth's crust. It divided into endogenic geological processes and exogenic geological processes, tectonic movement, magmatism, and metamorphism. Earthquake action belong to internal, dynamic geological process, while weathering, denudation, transport, and sedimentation, consolidation, diagenesis, loading, geological processes, etc., all belong to exodynamic geological processes. In the last lesson, we have a preliminary understanding of plate tectonic movement. It can be subdivided into horizontal movement and vertical movement. Let's first look at the case of horizontal motion. According to measurements, the Mediterranean Sea between the Eurasian and African plates is shrinking. This is due to the collision and compression of the Eurasian plate and the African plate. Some people predict that the Mediterranean Sea will disappear in tens of millions of years, while the expansion of the Red Sea between the Indian Ocean plate and the African plate. This is due to the divergence and rifting between the Indian plate and the African plate. Some people predict that the Red Sea will become the new ocean in tens of thousands of years. The San Andreas Fault, the longest scar on Earth, is a large-scale strike-slip fault formed by horizontal movement. It develops along the boundary between the North American plate and the Pacific plate, with a total length exceeding 1,200 kilometers for 150 million years. The horizontal offset of San Andreas Fault is 500 kilometers. The famous ancient Roman marble columns along the coast of the Bay of Naples in Italy provide the clearest evidence of vertical uplift movement. The picture shows that only the middle section of the marble column is eroded by the seawater. What is the reason for this? 3 marble pillars were built in 105 BC. Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. 3 marble columns survived. The lower 3.6 m of the pillar was covered by ash. For more than 1,000 years, the Earth's crust was once in a slow decline process. The 2.7 meter above it were eroded by the seawater and many small holes were made. Then, the Earth's crust slowly rose again. In the 18th century, the pillars were fully exposed above sea level. But by the 19th century, the land began to subside again, submerging the base of the pillars in seawater. In nature, horizontal movement and vertical movement often go hand in hand. One refers to the direction of tectonic movement. It doesn't have to be purely horizontal or vertical. There are often existing horizontal displacement components, and also has a vertical displacement component. Second, from the relationship between the 2 types of movement. Horizontal movement causes vertical movement, while vertical movement also causes horizontal movement. There is growing evidence that horizontal movement is dominant, while vertical movement is a derivation of horizontal movement. Magmatism. Magma is produced deep in the upper mantle and crusting. Magma in molten state ascends along rupture zones produced by tectonic movements to intrude into the Earth's crust or eject the ground. The whole process of condensation diagenesis is called magmatism. Magma ejects out of the surface to form ejected rocks, and those intrude into the crust to form intrusive rocks. On January 15, 2022, the Hanga Tonga Hangaha Apai volcano in the Kingdom of Tonga, a South Pacific island nation, erupted, generating detectable tsunami waves that were monitored along Pacific coasts, including in Chile, Japan, and New Zealand. From the satellite comparison map before and after volcanic eruption, after the volcanic eruption of the Hanga Tonga Hangaha Apai volcano, the crater and most of the island has sunk under the sea. Next is metamorphism. the process by which rocks undergo changes due to endogenic factors, such as high temperature, high pressure, and chemically active fluids at depth is called metamorphism. Contact metamorphism occurred by magma intrusion into surrounding rock. Form new rocks. Directional pressure aligns minerals in rocks perpendicular to the direction of pressure. For a new schistosity structure, surface morphological changes caused by earthquake action are often intense. On July 28, 1976, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck Tangshan, reducing this industrial city with a population of 1 million to ruins and claiming 242,769 lives. These are 4 typical endodynamic geological processes. Next, let's study the exodynamic geological process. Exodynamic geological process refers to the whole process of weathering, erosion, transportation, deposition, and diagenesis. So is weathering the same as wind erosion. Weathering refers to the physical and chemical changes that occur when hard rocks at or near the Earth's surface interact with the atmosphere, water, and living organisms. The rock that remains unweathered throughout the entire process of forming loose deposits in situ is called bedrock. The thin layer of loose material on the upper part of the bedrock is called weathering crust. From shallow to deep, according to the degree of weathering BECH, we divide the weathering crust into semi-regolith, residual layer, and soil layer. There is often a gradual transition between layers without obvious dividing lines. Physical weathering is the simplest of weathering. It is particularly evident in desert areas. The daytime temperature is as high as 40 to 50 degrees Celsius, hot outside and cold inside, while the temperature can drop below 0 degrees Celsius at night, cold outside and hot inside. The degree of thermal expansion and cold contraction between surface and core of rock is inconsistent. Over time, cracks appear in the rock, from big pieces to small pieces, from small pieces to sand, and finally from sand to soil. Freeze-thaw weathering is also a common form of physical weathering. Moisture penetrates into rock fissures. The temperature drops at night, and the water freezes. The volume expands, fissures deepen, and freeze-thaw cycles occur repeatedly, causing the rock to gradually disintegrate into fragments. Chemical weathering refers to the process in which rocks and minerals undergo chemical changes in situ, resulting in the formation of new minerals. Dissolution as a typical chemical weathering. The process refers to the dissolution and precipitation, erosion, and deposition of groundwater and surface water interacting with soluble rocks. The main chemical component of limestone is calcium carbonate D. Calcium carbonate precipitates can react with carbon dioxide-rich water beet and become water-soluble calcium bicarbonate, so that stalactite, stalagmite, stone pillar, and the like are formed. Karst landforms of different shapes and colors. The growth of plant roots and the activities of burrowing animals, etc., can also damage rocks. Different from weathering, wind erosion refers to the process where wind carries sand and rock particles that abrade surfaces, gradually wearing away rocks by friction, and removing fragmented material, resulting in wind-driven erosion. So how was the wind-eroded mushrooms are small at the bottom and big at the top formed? That's because the degree of softness and hardness varies between layers of rock. The lower lithology is softer near the ground. Wind carries more sand and gravel. The rock mass is severely eroded by wind and sand. Thus, the softer rock at the base experiences more intense wind abrasion, gradually forming a mushroom-shaped rock with a narrower bottom and wider top. So weathering and wind erosion are 2 completely different concepts. The essence of weathering is big pieces become small pieces. detritus material is still in place. The essence of wind erosion is that large pieces become smaller and small pieces are removed. The focus is on remove. In addition to wind erosion, the river flows. Destroy the riverbed by its own dynamic force and the sediment it carries. It can be divided into lower erosion and lateral erosion. Lateral erosion causes continuous erosion of the concave bank, while the convex bank continues to extend forward, creating a river form with 9 twists and 18 bends. Coastal erosion by seawater dynamic factors, gradually forming sea erosion landforms, such as sea caves, sea arches, sea stacks. In summary, endodynamic geological process is dominant. It controls the rise and fall of the surface. The exogenous geological processes tend to modify the Earth's surface by eroding elevated areas and depositing sediments in lower regions, ultimately leveling the topography, and play a subordinate and dominated role in geological systems. Through the learning in this lesson, we learned about the definition and classification of geological processes. Next lesson, we will study Chapter 2, Minerals and Rocks.